You know, my father will have your head for this. You don't want to do that to Rain, Brain of Tough. You don't want to do anything to Kingslayer. Well, the Kingslayer get his hand cut off. Welcome back to Fog Entertainment, with another Game of Thrones theory. We're looking at episode 3, and the simple question was it a mistake to cut the Kingslayer's hand off? And I tell you what, troops, it might have been a mistake to cut the Kingslayer's hand off. You want to know why? Because Tywin Lannister, now it is, later revealed that the Boltons are like, oh, well, you know what, actually, you go back to King's Landing and say it wasn't us that cut your hand off, and all that good stuff, and we will be alright with each other. But I've got a sneaky suspicion, folks, that the big man that cut off the Kingslayer's hand is not going to get away with things quite as easily. Now, Jamie, he was doing what he does best. He was talking. I mean, well, I say he was doing what he does second best, because obviously the guy was the Kingslayer. Apparently, he was the best guy in the land with his sword, even if the actor wasn't. Right now, obviously, towards the end of the episode, he manages to talk them out here of obviously raping. What's her Sillin of Lord Sillin of Tarth. But well, that's her father, Bren. She's a noblewoman, and the sole heir of Lord Sol of Tarth, the Sapphire Isle. Ha ha ha! Trying to get her not to get that done to her, but obviously Locke's like, I'm not going to have this. No, yeah, we'll spare her, but you're going to get your hand cut off, and then he just cuts his hand off, and not only was it his hand, it was his sword hand. So Jaime Lannister. I mean, I've seen a lot of like photos and images of Jaime Lannister, like must be later in the season with short hair. So I'm going to assume, I haven't watched this show before, folks. That's why these fairies can be a wee bit like, oh, but obviously that happened. Obviously this happened. But we're here for the crack, and you guys love it. But it'll be interesting to see how Jaime Lannister actually deals with his hand being cut off. Like once he gets taken back to King's Landing, like are they going to be able to mold? Is he going to wear like a cast? Is he going to? I mean, obviously, it's pretty shitty times. Like, it's not like The Walking Dead where Merle Dixon get his hand cut off, and even though that was all equally pretty shitty times, but man managed to make like a big knife thing out of it. I guess they could create something like that, where when he's out and bat, but then see the whole carrying a sword. Like, see once a war dies down, it's like, well, what's the real need of carrying this thing with like a big knife on it? You know what I mean? But would he have ravered his hand? Would he? It's a tough one. Either he got his. Honestly, would Jaime Lannister have ravered one of his eyes cut out of his hand? He probably would have took the eye, You know what I mean? You don't have a favoured eye at the end of the day, but if you're right handed, you do not want your right hand going off. If you're left handed, you don't want the left one going off. And obviously, unfortunately for Jaime Lannister, it did go off. I think this is a big mistake. Locke obviously cuts it off. He looks at it in shock. Then, when he registers it in his mind, he begins to scream agony and horror for Jaime Lannister. I'm going to make a big bold predict. It was a mistake. I think this is going to come back to bite Locke in the arse. I can see some form of trade with the Boltons, and the Boltons like give up Locke as a goodwill. But then I don't know. I don't know all the pieces. Some people who've watched the show or read the spoilers or whatever could be like, Andy, big, big Andy, the guy that wrote this show, he's going to lay the smackdown on you, Stevie. And it's like, all right, big man. Even though Andy didn't write this show, it was dead. It was a guy by the name of David Benoit. We all know that name all too well. Anyway, folks, leave your thoughts down below, and peace.